I hope you're having a great day wherever you are, and that you're embracing that the season you are in is one to reap a lot of rewards from, regardless of the season. It's been a really challenging time this year for a lot of us because we're dealing with a lot of change and maybe doing a lot of things that we're not used to having to do. But what I love about who we're having on today is she's basically talking about how to train yourself to be prepared for whatever comes your way with a lot more grace on yourself and maybe even gratitude for the experience that you're having. Gratitude, that's a word that's been thrown around a lot, I know, but it is possible when you prepare yourself to be able to get yourself ready for times of uncertainty by spending time building your mind and building your body because they are connected. So we're just waiting for her to come online here. She should be here any minute. And yeah, once you join us, I hope that you will let us know where you're calling in from, or where you're viewing this from, I should say. And yeah, just waiting for her to come in. All right, and here she is. Okay, just gonna have her join. Excellent.
Hey.
How are you, Sarah?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. And the sun is coming in and out, so it's like I have to leave my curtains open because if I don't, it'll be too dark. But now it's like, oh, really bright.
Shining. Yep.
Yeah, shining and glowing. But so here you are. You're back for another chat. And I was just pumping everyone up about you because this is an amazing year for you to be doing what you're doing. Because you're helping people get resilient, and make that a practice. Resilient in their bodies, resilient in their minds. And this is a year where I think we could all use some practice in that regard. So I'm going to just say again what your little intro is here. I just want to say, everyone, welcome to Sarah Histand. She's a mental health counselor, a personal trainer, and a lover of long backcountry adventures, recently returned from yet another one in the backcountry of Alaska. And she helps women build strong minds and bodies without shame, without needing to prove themselves or overriding their body's signals. What I love about that is all about what we're talking about when I talk about self-care and cyclical self-care. Listening to what your body is telling you and taking the modifications as necessary. So thank you for what you're doing. I think we need way more of it. So you just keep doing what you're doing. So tell us, you're in Alaska. Is it Valdez you're in right now?
I'm in Anchorage.
Anchorage, you are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And so tell us where you just got back from. Your big
Yeah, well, okay. My husband and I just spent a week in the eastern Alaska range, kind of over on the Canadian end of the state.
near us.
Yeah, I know. I love Canada. Yeah, and the fall colors are starting to peak here, and so we were trying to hit this part of the mountain range right in when the colors were peaking, but we we got to the place where we were starting and put up our tent and went to bed, and that night it snowed like 4 inches. So we were like, oh my gosh. We might have mistimed this a little bit.
Wow.
So we still started out in the trip. We spent the first 2 days basically walking through snow, and then it was bluebird, like lots of sun, and so eventually the snow started to melt away, and the second 2/3 of the trip basically we were back into the fall colors, and it was gorgeous. And we did feel like we kind of nailed the timing. So we got a lot of beauty. Really nice to spend a week disconnected from the internet and reconnecting to each other and to nature and to my own resiliency, like you said, because there's a lot of walking through snow for a whole day is challenging for the system. And so having to be with that and rise to the challenge, all these things, it just really helped me recognize that the capacity is there, and like it's one thing to be strong and stable when things are going smoothly and we're like, I got this, no problem. But when like things that come unexpected, like it snows on your backpacking trip, or like 2020 for, you know, like just
Yeah,
2020 and everything that keeps getting thrown at us, is when this stuff is even more important. So yeah.
absolutely. And I got to know when this happens, because I'm sure this is not the first time you've had a situation where we're like going out hiking and we got a whole like 3 or 4 week trip planned and then something goes wrong. Like, I'm sure that wasn't the first time. And some people would say something went right because, wow, how beautiful to see the snow. It must have been beautiful, but arduous for you to journey through that. What do you say to yourself? Is that where your mantras kick in? Are you like, this is what I've been training for, which is a big one for you? Or are you like, um, yeah, what do you say to yourself during that time?
Yeah, a few different things. One is I always try to remember that there's an out. Like on this one, you know, we were like, well, it snowed a bunch. Do we really want to go? You know, like there was a question, like we could turn around and change plans, and we decided to go forward with the plan, with the knowledge that like if it got really hard or too like crappier than we wanted to deal with, then we could
Yeah.
turn around, or we could like make a shorter path or like adapt things. And that, so that applies on the backcountry trip, and I think that applies like to lots of things where we can be like, maybe I can adapt, like we can go into this hard thing and we can always be open to readjusting the plan if it gets to be too much.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of them. Another one is this recognition that like I, that I've been training for this mantra, or that I've got this mantra, or I can do hard things is another one that I like from Glennon Doyle.
Yes.
So a lot of that reassurance on like to try to get on into like a subconscious level of resilience that's in there, that when like the part of my brain that's like feeling nervous and afraid and potentially overwhelmed by the struggle, whatever it is, I can help like kind of calm that with some of that mental work and recognize the potential that's there. And then another thing that works pretty well for me in outdoor hard times is to play around with where my attention is. Um, and
Mm.
so usually like if I'm really noticing how hard this thing feels, it's usually zoomed out and looking at the big picture and like projecting ahead at like, if it's really hard right now and it stays really hard for this whole trip, this is gonna suck. Like, I don't know if I'm up for that. And so I'm like, I can, I'm like zooming out. I'm like taking the tough stuff right now and making it bigger, like looking ahead with that. But that's just a projection of what might happen, and it's just a guess. And actually, like on this trip, things got way better as we went, and so it's not even an accurate guess necessarily, you know.
Right.
So zooming back into the moment and trying to get my attention honed in on the things that are okay about this moment. And you're right, like the beauty of the snow was really special, and the feeling of the cool air in my lungs was really invigorating. And like there's some cool things about those moments. So there's this like attention shifting that's super helpful.
Oh, yeah. And, I know one thing would probably go through my mind would be, you chose this. This was your choice. This is something as an entrepreneur, a business owner, you can experience too, because it's like the greatest thing about owning a business is you're your own boss. And the hardest thing about owning your own business is you're the boss. So on the good days, the bad days, it's like, oh, sometimes it's challenging. And just to go back to, hey, you chose this. And the thing is, we all choose everything we do. We sometimes think that it's not a choice, it's just something imposed on us. But really, truly, every single thing we do is a choice. Do we have to pay our bills? Well, no. I mean, there's consequences, but it's our choice to do it or not, right? Mm-hmm. And the jobs we're in, the work we're doing, the relationships we're in, there is always a choice. And so knowing that, zooming out and zooming in, I love that perspective. that helps get your mind off of, oh, why is this happening to me? And into something more proactive. So that's very, very helpful. So what would you say is one of your favorite little, I know last time I asked you this question, what's your favorite highlight from your trip? And there's always 8 million. So pick the top 3, like little bullets of what you enjoyed this time.
Yeah, okay. So there was this, I was talking about how the first half we were in so much snow and like the world is like black and white and you're just in this kind of stark environment. And there was this point where we walked like over the edge of a ridge and got the view over into the river valley below and the next ridge that was beyond it. And the next ridge was facing south, so it had been getting a ton of sun and the snow had all melted away, and it was totally gorgeous yellow, orange, red colors along that bank. And the juxtaposition between the white black, like the black and white world, and the fall colors on the other side was so pretty. And it just felt super magical to be in this transition point between the two seasons, and like faced with the beauty that's in a transition. Like I feel like there's all these metaphors that come from that potentially, but like I was overcome by how beautiful it was to have been, like all my senses had been in white and black and in these really neutral places, and those colors just like hit me super hard. So that one was really, really neat. Yeah. And then we had another really cool moment. We were walking through country without trails for about the first maybe 2/3 of the trip. And when hiking off trail, you spend a lot of time looking around at the subtleties of the ground to try to look for like the easiest way you can work your way through the terrain. And then we hopped onto a 4-wheeler trail for the last chunk of it. And it was so interesting to see the transition that happened from walking off the trail to walking on trail. And I could feel my mind flip to like, there's not as much I have to think about now. And it went right to politics.
Oh.
It went right to politics and the projects that I need to do when I get back, and the town stuff. It's like a really interesting flip of the brain. Mm-hmm. And so that was a really neat moment to witness, because it helped me recognize the benefits of being able to, like, the off-trail hiking is so neat because it engages your mind in such a different way, and like a primal way. And then to notice how quickly my mind wants to go to the other, like, kind of more stressful things that are out there when it doesn't have other things to occupy it. It felt like a really important lesson for me now that I'm back in that world, recognizing how quickly, magnetizing all of those problems are for our attention. And really, I'm now in the work of like trying to find ways to occupy my brain in different ways to recognize that there's other stuff out there beyond all the stress that we're experiencing.
Oh yeah, it's like, it makes you realize we don't spend enough time marveling at what's around us. And if we're living in a very enclosed space, a big city, even the suburbs, everything looks the same, everybody's house looks the same on the street or whatever, it can be really easy to just kind of go through the motions and not really just stop and look. And so I always appreciate it when friends of mine will like take a picture of a heart-shaped leaf, or you just stop and you see something moving along. If I'm all the trail hiking, now my trails are like city trails, they're paved mainly. There's a few dirt ones, but there's not that many of them. And you stop and you see like a caterpillar crossing the path, and just stop and watch it, like, because who does that? Kids. So if ever I'm on a walk with my kids, they've always been the ones to point out those things to me. And so it's caused me to start looking at that as well. And I find even a 5 or 10 minute walk near some nature, or even if you're in the city, just like looking around at the sky, the cloud formations, the beauty of architecture even, and just kind of marveling at, wow, look what man can do. Isn't that incredible? you know, how are we given that gift to be able to design these things? And it just gets your mind thinking, like you say, outside of the everyday. And so what was it like being off of social media, being off of all of your tech while you were there? And just like, I can't imagine being gone for a week and being completely disconnected, only because my sense of, oh, what if something happens, kicks in. So how do you handle that? What's that like?
Yeah, that is a reality for me too. That like kind of hypervigilance almost about like what's happening. Um, so what tends to happen for me is it takes me a little time at the beginning, and it depends on how like sucked in I've been beforehand, how
Yeah.
long that time to really get out of it is. But it's a day or two, and maybe even a little longer before before those like the part of me that like wants to check my phone and see what I missed starts to like calm down a little bit, and I can be more present outside. It's it's one of the reasons why for me these longer stretches of time outside are really helpful to break that like there's a bit of an addiction there, you know, and it takes some time to get some space from it. I can do a okay job about that on like a weekend thing, but it's definitely more noticeable the if I can give it a couple days to like taper down and be more present with that. And then I'm just being really attentive through that process to like, wow, that urge to like check in is really strong. And now as I readjust to being back with my phone and with access to all the news, I'm trying to allow for sometimes when I'm following through on that urge, and sometimes when I'm like setting this phone in the other room so I can uh, get my brain more focused on some of the other realities.
Absolutely. You know, I have always such great intentions with, oh, I'm just going to hop on for a second, do one little thing. And my mind's totally focused. And I was like, oh, they had a baby. Oh, somebody got married. Oh, I'm like, oh, okay. And it's, you know,
Yeah.
people I follow mainly are people that either I know personally or people in the greater me phone rang.
Okay.
that that's never happened before during
We're
this.
still going.
Anyway, please hold. We'll be right back with you. Telephone. Um, but yes, taking those breaks is really good. And I know I have had social media breaks for chunks of time. Now, what I've liked to do is like the beginning of the weekend, I'll maybe post something because I know that I'm so connected with my community. I like to post pretty much daily. So I'll post the beginning of the weekend and then the very end of the weekend. But the rest of the time, I actually will move all of my social media and all that stuff to another page on my phone. So when if I have to text somebody or my kids are calling me because I have to have my phone on when they're out to just make sure they can stay connected, it's not the first thing I see. So I'm not tempted. I'm like, wow, how amazing was that? I don't know why it took me so long to do it. But as a result, you're able to just drop in to the book that you're reading or the conversation you're having or just quiet time. It is so beautiful. So for you to take a week, that's amazing. And what a beautiful practice to be able to have these regular times where you can disconnect and, you know, really connecting with yourself. And like you said, with your spouse, because you're doing this with your man. What's your husband's name?
Yeah, his name's Luke.
Luke. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, now what does Luke do? Does he work in your business with you or does he do something different?
He does his own thing, but he really is the genius behind these trips. It's like something he lives for is to like look at maps and draw lines that look like they might work out, and then like put a bunch of work into the planning of the details of it, and then get out there and see what happens. Yeah, it's like his magic.
So you're actually creating your own trails. Like you're not saying we're going to follow this trail. You're actually creating your own trails.
Yeah, that's right. We're just,
Wow.
yeah, we're like drawing, we're looking at like Google Earth basically is what we use for like the scouting part. Sometimes we look at other things that people have done and we want to recreate something like that, but Luke especially likes to be in the exploratory discovering process himself. So he does like draw a line on a map and then puts together some of the specifics about what he is like, gonna what we expect from the satellite view, you know, and
Yeah.
then we go out there and see what it looks like on the ground. And we have all these, yeah, sometimes it works out, mostly works out. He's really good at what he does with that. But there are some times when we end up on like this summer, we had one where he had this gorgeous, like 10-mile long ridge that we really wanted to go up and hike. And then we got to it, and it was, instead of like a gorgeous, smooth walking ridge, which most ridges are, it was like all chunky rock just like piled on top of each other, and it was all loose and gross for walking. Like everything you'd step on would like tilt over, and so it was just like not a super pleasant walk the way we expected. So we always joke about how it looked good from outer space, but sometimes that's not always accurate on the ground.
You gotta zoom on in sometimes. And yet I'm sure even that had some beautiful lessons and experiences, and you saw things you otherwise wouldn't have seen. So how cool is that? So we're drawing near to our end here, although I feel like I could talk to you like a really long time. Maybe we should check in a few more times just to talk about this particular trip, you and I would love to do that. And you are launching Ski Babes, your winter personal training program, right? It's online, and I'd love you to tell us all about it and how people can gain access to it and enjoy some amazing lessons and exercise with you.
Yeah, thanks for that question. Yeah, I'm right in the middle of getting the program out into the world because we start on Monday. So
Awesome.
It's a group training program, and it is all online. I started building this program when I was learning to ski in Valdez, and I was needing to like get some. I was like working on a master's degree and running a gym and like stretched pretty thin, and so I needed some like ways to get ready for my outdoor time that weren't super time consuming. So I built this with this group of people in Valdez. We started training in the gym there, which now has translated to online and living room time. A bunch of body weight training moves that help us build out our functional strength, and I'm working in a bunch of the mental resilience pieces that I have started to grow from my mental health side of things, and saw that like those were helping me a ton outside too. So it's like all smushed together. We train in 6-week cycles, so you could sign up for just the one or the whole winter's worth. And this year especially, like it's got this orientation toward outdoor sports for people who are into that kind of thing. But what this really is about is resilience, and about connecting with the stability and capacity that we have in our bodies and our minds, and finding ways to access that from our living room when we're like in there, and then also being encouraged to go outside and use that out in nature when you get the opportunity. And if you've done some strength work ahead of time, that time outside can be more fun instead of just feeling like you're always like falling behind.
Absolutely. And Rayanne, the artist, looks like she has been through Ski Babes, because she says Ski Babes is life changing. Thank you, Rayanne. And obviously it sounds amazing. I think it's so cool that you're doing something that has the combination of your passion and your helping of other people and mental health and physical health and nature, and it's all combined. And this is what you get to do for a living. How awesome. See, you chose this. You chose this, and it's such a good choice. And now as a result of you choosing to do what you love, so many other people are benefiting. And that is that's really the podcast you were on that is just out today. So everyone listening, the Connect with Sheila Botelho podcast, today's episode, Wednesday, October 7th. Is it the 7th?
That's right.
Yes, 7th, yeah. is with this lovely lady right here. And you get to hear even more about her story. And I really urge you, I will put links below this live, and this will be also saved to my Instagram feed. And you can also do the same, Sarah. Once it's up on my feed, you can share it with the links to Ski Babes. And we have people still joining us. We have a great group of people on today. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Oh, and Rand has one other thing to say, not to brag, but I've seen Sarah's amazing growth since the beginning. She's awesome. Oh, I love it when people follow us the whole way. That is so great. Well, and that is a testimony to your leadership and the quality of work that you do. So congratulations.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Yeah. So lucky to, you're right, be able to put all this out into the world and do it through like the joy that it brings to me, and to be able to share that with a community of folks. Online is different, you know, but it's super effective, and it's what we've got right now. So I think a lot of us are missing the connection and the like support that we get from the people in our lives that maybe we're not with as much anymore. But like we're able to, Rayanne lives in Valdez, I live in Anchorage, and we're able to still stay in connection through this online work. So it's pretty magical in a lot of ways.
I love it. What a beautiful way of pivoting your business and being able to serve a wider audience. You might get some people from all over Canada, all over the States, whoever else. People are listening to the podcast in France, in England, in South Africa, like all over the place. So you just never know. So they'll be like, snow? What is that? So you have to somehow incorporate some snow for those who don't have snow around them this winter. But thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad you could take time away, as I know you're really busy ramping up for this. But thank you, and I look forward to staying in touch also.
You're welcome. It's really fun to connect with you, Sheila. Thanks for everything.
Awesome. You have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye, everybody.